My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, it's April 20th, 2026. It's 6:52 a.m. And I am starting documentation via podcast. And I'm doing so because I want to document the pattern of conduct. Omnitrans is engaged in terrorism, just like I'm documenting getting on and off of the buses and the entities stalking by airport and by the police using helicopters. An African-American female, she's operating Route 61, bus 1326. and license plate 1370397. And she's stalking with light activity, and it's not the legitimate operation of a transit line. She's doing so, which is the mentally ill conduct of a corrupt company. These companies are going to cease to exist while they are representing a threat to the American public, while they're monitoring them and engaging in what are mentally deranged practices pursuant to monitoring. So this is not caution while the bus is on the side of the road. This is not with the hazard lights on, and it's also not relevant for what is the customary conduct of the bus lines when they're stalking in the path under the fake sun. It's light activity. And as I get off the bus, Southwest Airlines flies over the sidewalk over the top of my head, much like what I have on video in Ontario at the 60 freeway on the sidewalk outside of the grocery outlet, and also the Economy Inn motel, where the entity flies over my head. United Airlines, Delta Airlines, the Amazon Prime Air. This is what you hear. That is, again, license 1370397. Just like what I'm documenting getting off of Route 61, coming from Fontana as of late, and the entity is stalking me by helicopter at the Holt and Plum Avenue bus stop where the Metro 102 Apartments is, getting off at the Holt and Euclid Avenue intersection where the T-Mobile is located, and the Ontario police are flying circles over my head as I get off the bus. Omnitrans is engaging in terrorism, and this is the basis to not only civilly and criminally prosecute, to prosecute the drivers themselves who are subject to federal prison, and this is mentally ill behavior, so you're talking about what are built-in mental examinations. It's federal prison also because they're going from city to city and facilitating surveillance and furtherance of murder with a population from Ontario to Montclair to Pomona that's going into a different county, and you're engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murdering someone while you're doing so maliciously as an employee. That's relevant to what is malice, not a constitutional right, not private conduct, not state, not protected at all. It's relevant to malice, which is psychopathic, trying to kill someone in this corrupt manner, which the government is doing through corrupt companies like Omnitrans. And I took a picture. You'll see Southwest Airlines. That is, again, stalking in another city where the entity is doing so, tracking my steps, which is also proof of the fake sun. Those are the demon-possessed that are conspiring murder in the city of Montclair. You are also aware of this because I've fully documented Jason Reed, the agency gang stalking while the fake sun remains over me. And I remind you about the fact that it's not the sun, and that Jason Reed and the city of Montclair are engaged in surveillance like Southwest Airlines proves. While I am subject to that gang stalking, the city of Montclair is not protecting me. The city of Montclair is not an exception. The city of Montclair is not ceasing to be engaged in the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. The city of Montclair is engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct, which is unlawful, and it tells you about the police in that city. It tells you about the sheriff in that city, which is that county, and it tells you about the people of the state. They're under the fake sun, which I documented after 5 p.m. at the Starbucks and on Ramona and Holt Boulevard, and stalking in the parking lot. 9 Victor Bob Mary 068. 8 Uncle George Xavier 949, engaging in the mentally ill conduct of stalking with light, sitting there aiming light on a wall. This is the entity that's going to be committed with this behavior. While it's also serving a criminal purpose, it's absolutely absurdly psychotic, okay? They are focusing in on objects and aiming light, and they are also seeking to outwardly appear as though they're not engaging, but they are obsessively engaging in that. And the entity literally had a commercial plane fly over my head. This is a mentally ill population, okay? And it's speaking to the pattern of conduct, and everything is serving to prosecute everyone else. So that is the entity that's prosecuting Mike Lorenz and the Ontario International Airport that are stalking me at the town square, flying over me in the same exact manner, and you're in an adjacent city while you're acting like you're rising in elevation. That is supposed to be a takeoff at the Stater Brothers, and it's supposed to be a takeoff east of that location at the Cardenas, over the Wendy's, like I'm documenting last night. This is the entity that's engaging in that while I'm aboard the Omnitrans bus, and they're stalking through outside of the windows of the bus. This is a level of stalking that is stalking is born of obsession in the first place, but this level of stalking is relevant, a direct correlation to mental instability, okay? And this is the population that murders people. 7 David Jerry Sam 927, they're gang stalking at the 7-Eleven at 4500 Holt Boulevard in Montclair, California. That's at 4535, the CVS, 4535 Ramona Avenue, Holt Boulevard. Yeah, that's Holt Boulevard. 4535 Holt Boulevard is where the people of the state, the demons that are wearing hard hats like Griffith Company, Comet Electric, these demons that are gang stalking are creating audible activity whilst demons are pacing on the roads and the highways under the fake sun. All right, so I will go ahead and take an image. My documentation shows the prosecution of this entity as I'm going from city to city, and the fake sun is advancing. This is what the entity is doing with commercial planes. They are advancing in where they're taking off farther and farther away from an airport, and doing so while they are stalking as a mentally ill, that is a demon-possessed population. Okay, that's P.O.C. Every business and the city themselves are posing a unified threat with regard to the criminal pattern of conduct and the sex offenders that are obsessed in my vagina, like what Stater Brothers is doing in the bathroom. The entire entity, including those that are stalking now, Southwest Airlines, CVS Pharmacy, the people of the state that are gang stalking by creating activity in the middle of the street, everybody in the city of Montclair. This is the U.S. government that's being prosecuted, P.O.C. Good morning. I have a question. You don't have to call me man. I just want to buy. All right, the images reflect the fake sun over me in Montclair, California, at the intersection of Ramona and Holt Boulevard. Historically, the documentation shows the fake sun over me at this same intersection into the afternoon. Amazon Prime hovers flying over my head inside of the parking lot of the Starbucks in Montclair at 4490. Griffith Company is here engaging in gang stalking with the city of Montclair like they are with the city of Ontario. They're doing so also on the roads and the highways when the demon-possessed who are engaging in this pattern of conduct via company names, they are stalking in other cities while they are hostile demons that are monitoring documentation. Griffith Company is a terrorist, and they are stalkers that are just digging into the concrete right now at 4535 Holt Boulevard. And the images under the fake sun are serving to prosecute that company and serving to prosecute the city. This is the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct with CVS, with 7-Eleven, with the shopping center. That's why the fake sun is over me, as the evidence already shows, in the middle of the afternoon, where this entity also targeted me by helicopter at this intersection, and the entity flying over me on the opposite side of this street while I'm on the Rentis Center side, the same side where I'm on right now, flying over the top of my head while I'm on the sidewalk. This is on video, under the fake sun. Griffith Company is engaged in surveillance, and while, like I said, whatever they're doing is activity creation, it's not an alibi. It's an admission, and it's going to be used to have them committed because it's relevant to malice. That's how you're analyzing the facts. These are demons that think they could wear a mask, and you don't know that it's a mask, and they're stalking you conspicuously. People that are engaging in stalking somebody in their face, I'm going to stalk you, and you're not going to do anything about it. Oh, and as you document me, I'm going to stalk you even more vigorously. I'm going to stalk you, and I'm going to stalk you with a whole bunch of other people, and it doesn't matter that you're documenting, and the more that you document that mindset, which is exactly what the entity is communicating, they're going to be committed. That's the bottom line. That's how you're going to treat what the entity is actually doing, and you're going to prosecute it. And under the practice of medicine, you're also going to diagnose that. That is psychopathic. This is what the demon-possessed are doing. It is currently, by the way, while CVS employee comes outside monitoring, this is also what they do in their homes, which are facilitating venues, which is why the people of the state are being prosecuted everywhere that they're at, where the pattern of conduct is underway, everywhere and at all times as well. It is 7:06 a.m. All right, it is 7:09 a.m. Pay attention to everything. In other words, all the evidence is being paid attention to. But what I mean by that is I am capturing everything that I capture for a reason. I don't just take pictures just to be taking pictures. The evidence is not only proving, yes, you're stalking, and you're stalking in this manner, and also you're stalking at this time, at this location, etc. It's also showing you the tactics of stalking. Griffith Company is crossing path by walking on the sidewalk while a plane flies over. That's a demon-possessed person. The entity is doing so. I want you to hear the plane activity. This is Montclair, California. This is Southwest Airlines, and I'm getting the bottom of the plane right now. The stalker at the intersection, 8DMH246, 6UOE216. This is very clear criminal conduct with the state. 51594C4. And you have the entity stalking. This is criminal summoning. I'm going to go ahead. There you go, right there. That's Montclair Police. You can hear them, and I'm taking pictures. They're under the fake sun. And what I'm capturing, Griffith Company is engaging in that while they are hostile demons that are documented, and know that they're documented. Montclair Police are engaging in criminal summoning pursuant to a pattern of conduct. Under the fake sun, you're not coincidentally engaging in what is stalking me, which is exactly what you'll see in 2018 when I started documenting, because the police were following me around, and that's what it's called when you're everywhere that I'm at. The entity surmises that just because they don't talk to you and they're everywhere that you're at, and they're doing it amongst a group of people, that you are not able to identify or call out stalking, and that's a lie. That's absolutely false. But this is how gang stalking operates. Southwest Airlines flies over my head.
The city of Chino, stalking via criminal summoning. The people of the state engaging in surveillance on the roads and the highways. Griffith Company engaging in a documented act of retaliation. These license plates, again, Griffith Company, license, stalking with light activity, 53676 Edward 4. Under the fake sign, engaging criminal summoning, that's federal prison. All right, the entities engaged in that, I just want to be clear, I'm going to get pictures of it. Well, actually, I already have pictures of it, but I'm going to get some more. You'll see Montclair police crossing path with lights and sirens. They're mentally ill. Jason Reed is engaged in the criminal conspiracy to murder, just like Fontana, just like Ontario, just like Upland, okay? There's no difference in the pattern of conduct. And all these cities are not simultaneously keeping a fake sun, as I'm documenting at the same time, also from sunrise until sunset. All right, also as I'm showing you the city libraries, okay? This Latino male that's gang stalking, representing the company, is demonstrating what the entire entity is doing. These are demons that are caught stalking, and as they are caught, they are mentally ill, in fact, for engaging in it. And they're also mentally ill while they engage in what you just listened to, an iteration of criminal summoning, because the demons are hostile. That doesn't stop the evidence. You're witnessing that. It's still being collected. You all know I already showed what Jason Reed is, and I've already shown that he's engaged in criminally surveilling me in furtherance of murder. And he's engaging in the evidence of that, and that is imprudent, if you will. That's highly unwise, because the government wants to appear as though they have nothing to do with the allegations. This is what normal people would want to contend, especially in court, especially before the world. You want to have clean hands. I know nothing about what this person is talking about. There is nothing that's even remotely close to anything that they're describing. That's not what this is. The entity is fully engaging in exactly what I described, and they do it over and over and over again. They do it, not coincidentally, pursuant to literally. I'm telling you what they do. As I document them, they do it again immediately. This is the entity that's psychopathic. Okay, this is informing you regarding demons having access to weapons, having access to bombs, having access to operating the train system, the commercial planes, helicopters, in law enforcement, where they're abusing such access, where they are lying about what they are actually engaging in, not maintaining a transit line, but maintaining control, where they are engaging in acts of terrorism. This is the entity that's mentally ill while you're looking at them fail. This is not retaliation. Jason Reed is being federally prosecuted. What are you accomplishing right now by being documented engaging in terrorizing me at Ramona and Holt, where the fake sun is over me, and this same agency is stalking by helicopter in the middle of the afternoon? Jason Reed is fully exposed as a vagina monitoring stalker, keeping me under surveillance, no warrant, no probable cause, nor does anything like that exist for stalking and surveilling me with the people of the state, like license 5XRU 108. Demons, okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that. Griffith Company and every other establishment, every other business. These are the demon possessed that are engaging in surveilling us. That's why a demon is wearing a hard hat and maintains vehicles with the company logo on it, and all they're doing is pacing. They're under the fake sun, and they're pacing all around. That's what this demon is doing on the sidewalk. That's what Southwest Airlines is doing over my head. That's what That's what Montclair police are doing while they are stalking in the path with lights and sirens. Those are demons that are manifesting. That's light activity. That's audible activity and relevant positioning. And Montclair police crossing path again, 174-170, substantially similar, driving in the same position. That's the whole department, though. Once you get one engaging in the pattern of conduct, you're not getting one, you're getting the entity. It's a pattern of conduct. The fake sun is here. That's literally the prosecution. You're not accidentally engaging in a pattern of conduct. And that's also how it is known that Governor Newsom is unfit to be in office, and he is not ignorantly in a position of leadership over the state that's engaging in this pattern of conduct. He is a terrorist, and he is a terrorist that wants to, amongst the domestic terrorists in the state, remain in office and maintain this ongoing beast system. He's a demon, and he's not ignorantly in a position of authority, while all the gang members, all of those that I'm showing you from city to city, sharing that pattern of conduct, including California Highway Patrol, okay, where he is in position appointing these demons into these positions, putting the demons in positions on the bench, putting demons in positions over these departments. The state of California that's gang stalking me at the Department of Motor Vehicles, that's the state of California. That's an illustration. This is, again, by definition, terrorism. So you are, because we're in the United States, it's a different definition, because you're learning that the conduct that's defined as terrorism is occurring under one that's sitting in office, so it's a different definition. No, that's called public corruption, and that's a domestic terrorist, and it is Newsom. It is the entity that's engaging in this in the cities, in the counties, throughout the state, and the one that's sitting in that position over, in a position of authority in the state, which is Newsom. Okay, Newsom is very much aware of everything that I'm stating. Newsom's engaging in surveillance. That's why you have Montclair police and Chino police, Upland police, San Bernardino police, Rialto, Colton police, the Ontario Police. You have, while I'm out here, this is the, like I'm stating, Montclair Police, Pomona Police. This is why you have the Los Angeles Police. While you have San Bernardino County Sheriff, San Diego County Sheriff, Orange County Sheriff, the Los Angeles County Sheriff, the Kern County Sheriff. This is why you have the San Diego Police Department. This is why I'm documenting this identical pattern of conduct. We're an entity of demons, first of all, is what you're learning. And this is what you know with regard to evidence, that they're not taking off from the airport when I'm at the Ontario Airport Inn, which is north of the Ontario International Airport. So from the terminals, you're not flying west to be flying along G Street outside of my hotel room while the fake sun is there. You are necessarily flying south, and then like a crazy person, you are then lowering in elevation, putting the plane in a position to face west, and then you're taking off on G Street where the Ontario Airport Inn is located, on the property where my hotel room is located, where I also documented the fake sun remained from sunrise until sunset. That's where I'm reminding you about what the entity is doing regarding Jason Reed and the Starbucks at 4490, where Starbucks is a documented gang stalker under the fake sun, and the Montclair police provide evidence further corroborating that which I've already established unilaterally with the evidence. Jason Reed is a terrorist. While the people of the state engage in it, they are telling on the state. While the state is engaging in it, like Jason Reed is in this agency at this intersection in the morning where the fake sun is here at 5 p.m., and I'm at this Starbucks at this same intersection at 5, and I'm reminding you about what's happening at the same time at the Ontario Airport Inn Hotel in Ontario, California. The sun is not over both at the same time. The sun is not remaining over the city of Ontario and Montclair with exclusivity, and Florida is never going to see a sun under those circumstances. That's a big picture analysis, but it's also not mutually at the same time remaining. This is the entity that's engaged in that. That's where Jason Reed is stalking me and keeping me under surveillance, and doing so while I'm documenting that terror. That's an unlawful threat. License 7 Robert 0 Victor 288. They're engaging in surveillance with the transit lines. That's what Omnitrans represents. Getting on and off the bus, I'm being gang stalked by helicopter and planes. And they're doing so while they're operating. That is employment. All they're doing is pacing, just like the Griffith Company employees. They're pacing. They're demons. They're bots. They're zombies. They are placed in position to monitor everyone, especially targets like myself. And they're engaging in that. I dare you. License plate 9 Robert David Jerry 342. This Caucasian woman is running into the intersection while she's monitoring me. That's not accidental. That's the entity that engages in a documented pattern of harm, by the way, including assault with a deadly weapon. And then smiling, I'm sorry, under the fake sun. The entity that engages in acts of violence is not rebutting the fact that you are aware of who I am and where I'm at. Like I said, these are delusional psychopaths who think that they can control the facts and how those facts are interpreted. Because I'm engaging in violence, well, that means that I don't know that you're there, and I'm not engaging in surveillance, and that's not what that means. It remains a scientific fact that the sun is not over anywhere in Florida while it's remaining over this intersection at Ramona and Hope Boulevard. It remains a fact that the sun would not still be here in the afternoon for Amazon Prime in that environment to accidentally and ignorantly fly over the top of my head, where no airport, moreover, is providing any sort of basis as to why they're even in that location, at that elevation, at that time, flying over me, of all people. But even when they're flying in relevant position, meaning I see you in the sky space, and what's over my head is the fake sun you're targeting. You're stalking. Moreover, you're doing so where there's not even an airport. There's no planes that are hovering from city to city. These demons are clearly stalking. And they've gotten very sloppy, and I'm just documenting it because they've already given up, but they're still stalking while they're this sloppy. The entity is going to be committed with this evidence. These are demons that are engaged in surveillance. Engaging in an act of violence is not rebutting the facts. They're going to be committed with this evidence. This is P.O.C. license 1656555. This is an African-American female bus 1308. This is P.O.C.
Airport Terminal, Fontana.
Good morning. All right, so the evidence that you're going to pay attention to regarding this specific iteration of the pattern of conduct in Montclair, California, is documented when I am staying at the Ontario Airport Inn. That's where I was specifically referring to the entity gang stalking me in Montclair. Also, my last visit to Pomona, California, where I am capturing the fake sun over me on Omnitrans going from Ontario to Pomona, from Pomona to Fontana, and 9 Victor Indiana Zebra 186 is stalking on the roads and the highways. This is a threat to the public. They commit acts of violence, not have car accidents. 8 Nancy Frank Victor 295, they target on the freeways. This is the entity that is very much suicidal, crashing planes, killing people, like what happened to Mr. Kobe Bryant. That was not an accident. The entity is engaged in surveillance in Los Angeles, what happened in Kentucky regarding UPS, flying a plane into a building. They're doing so under the fake sun. They're doing so while UPS is targeting me in California. That was not an accident. The entities engage in what is targeting on the roads and the highways where they are not maintaining accidents. And this mental illness is what is the ongoing context regarding what are not accidents, acts of violence. And this is also why the demon-possessed are in these strategic positions as a whole population and entity that seeks to maintain ongoing control over everything, everyone, everywhere, including by gang stalking. And this has resulted, ironically, in what is the exposure of this system and this reality. The entities engaging in surveillance through gang members like Jason Reed and the Montclair Police Department who share the pattern of conduct, which I'm clearly showing as I go into the city of Montclair and I'm immediately under attack. This is an entity that's engaging in that, and they are a threat while they're on the roads and the highways, and they're engaging in what is criminal surveillance. These are demons that are exhibiting that psychopathic disorder, and they are crashing into each other, crashing in and attacking other people. And you know nothing about surveillance and targeting, and they are discussing it and addressing it as though it's the ordinary, customary car accident. That presumption is malicious. They are not car accidents under the fake sun. These are monitoring spirits. They're monitoring your vagina. They know what you're doing when they're not sharing the physical, occupying that physical space with you, and they're monitoring you. They're engaging in what are malicious acts of attacking, targeting, which is murder. That's that which is calculated. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and this is relevant to the threat that the gang members of the Montclair Police Department who are mentally ill, and they have no business engaging in what is acting like they're engaged in law enforcement. That's very malicious so that they can get away with murder and kidnapping and stalking, like what they're doing at that intersection this morning. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:23 a.m. and the fake sun is now going in the east direction on the same street, Hope Boulevard. Everybody on the bus is stalking. The entity keeps the fake sun over me while I'm getting up at the bus stop. You are mindful of that when it's not going anywhere. Over the Bethel Congregation Church, where it is remaining over me in Ontario, and then I'm showing you how that's a grand departure from that. And all of this is a big picture regarding what's going on in this country. All right, because you're not having a sunrise. There's only one sun. And Fox News, when they're telling you about the sunrise and the weather, they're not addressing the obvious, all right, which nobody else is paying attention to either. When you're talking about sunrises and there's only one sun, and how is that the case when I'm showing you from sunrise until sunset on one street at one venue, when I go across the street to the library and that's where the sun stays all day? What is Fox News talking about then? What are you talking about? Okay, and what is it that you're actually surrounded by? Because that's propaganda. That's feeding an illusion. They're not ignorantly lying about things that are literally asinine, like the sun is ever going to be in Florida. When these idiots are stalking me under it, they're demons that are pacing around me under it. That's deliberate. This is the beast system. Okay, this is P.O.C., but that's what I want you to pay attention to, because the fake sun is going into the city of Montclair, literally over me in that parking lot. And these demons that are representing a company, you're going to prosecute the company, you're going to prosecute the people employed by that company, you're going to prosecute that city, which is a venue where that pattern of conduct is underway. You're going to prosecute for the ongoing psychological harms inherent to that. And you're talking about what is a RICO case regarding what all of the businesses are engaging in. And you're talking about what is, in other words, many brackets for recovery and also criminal activity, criminal conduct. And this is what an entity does, because when the government is caught, like the government is caught, they engaged in pacing over me at the intersection of Ramona and Holt. Southwest Airlines on the, what would be the north side of Ramona, on that side of the sidewalk, on the 7-Eleven side. And then when I'm standing on the CVS side, the fake sun moves with me on that side of the street. And the demons fly over me with another commercial plane while Jason Reed is threatening my life by stalking as a police department. And the plane flies over, very precise targeting. So the entity is very sloppy with regard to there's nothing concealed, okay? And this is the entity that's engaging on that level of a threat. Your sloppiness is even a threat. The fact that you're stalking, and then you're stalking conspicuously, and then you're stalking even more vigorously, and you're very, very sloppy. This is supposed to be elite. It's supposed to be secretive. It's supposed to be the formula for defaming somebody that's clearly imagining, and that's not the case. They're imagining that they're not going to be locked up in a mental institution, because that's exactly where demons stalking as police departments, demons stalking as a population, demons stalking with light, demons stalking in commercial planes. That's where they're going. Okay, they're going to federal prison, and they're going to the area where you are subject to a battery of tests, making sure that you are neutralized as a threat, because your mental illness is a national security threat. It's a population of demons that are monitoring. This is the P.O.C., however, and that's what you're paying attention to. They're murdering people on the roads and the highways. That's why it's being pointed out to you. What's over me when I'm driving, what's over me when I'm aboard Omnitrans, what's over me when I'm in Tracy Banks' car, what's over me when I'm in anyone else's vehicle, versus what's over me versus what's going on when they're on the roads and the highways pacing around me. The sun's not moving and there's only one sun, so you're not looking at a bunch of suns in the sky and they all have the same experience. It's stationary over me and everybody's pacing around me. And when I'm in motion, that fake sun is in motion and everybody is pacing around me. And that's the P.O.C. Very clear and precise targeting. Alrighty, these are demons that are within that evidence. You're able to see that they are engaging in no accidents. And there's a whole insurance system built around this beast system. And these insurance companies are not victims, they're gang stalkers. I can show you the fake sun over me at State Farm, at Allstate. I've already documented this. This is the P.O.C. They make money off of sacrificing people, they're demons. All right, this is indeed public corruption. It is currently 7:27 a.m. I am aboard Omnitrans, where the fake sun is, like I'm stating, on the same street, Hope Boulevard, now progressing east. And this is the pattern of conduct that you're seeing, big picture, from the city of Montclair to the city of Ontario, as I've already shown from Ontario to the city of Fontana. Alrighty, and that is the clear, very precise targeting. There's nothing ambiguous about it, and there's also nothing mentally ill about a targeted individual that has the presence of mind to tell what demons who are psychotic are doing. That's Satan that has tried to project his instability, which is absurd. These are demons likened to those that eat their feces. And you have the audacity to try to defame someone else, and you're only doing that behind the back of a targeted individual in a position that you're abusing, that you presume is going to overshadow that American citizen, i.e. the government defaming you. The government that is stalking, monitoring you, defaming you, and abusing their positions. And Governor Newsom is not ignorant about that at all. It is unreasonable to contend that. Moreover, being in such positions, you are not remaining and you are entirely unfit while it's happening in the state, throughout the state, on your watch. But this is P.O.C. There's no sun where he's giving these speeches, where he's traveling to L.A. and what's over the mayor's mansion where he lives. It's the fake sun. When he's going and taking flights to go talk to his best friend, Donald Trump, what's over them when they're doing that? And I'm showing you the pattern of conduct. The fake sun. You are not ignorant. He is not ignorant. This is just opening and broadening your mind regarding what is inevitable, regarding the implications as the P.O.C. is underway, as I go from place to place and show you. There is no accident here. There's no coincidence here. And there's also unmistakable hard evidence that cannot be denied, whether you follow Christ Jesus or not. This is not about that. Because you can sit up and deny Christ all you want to. It doesn't change who he is. He's also coming back, and this is a warning. You can, like anyone else, refuse a free gift. You can refuse lottery winnings. You didn't play the lottery. I don't want that $1 million pot. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to accept it. It's an offer. But it doesn't change the fact that it's real, period. This isn't based on whether you believe and follow Christ or not. In the same way that his deity and the fact that he's coming back and the fact that this pattern of conduct is speaking to that, it doesn't change it. And nobody, believer or unbeliever, can deny this evidence. No one. And it will not be disregarded in court. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:29 a.m. All right, this is the ongoing domestic terrorism by the state of California. P.O.C. All right, it is 8:34 a.m. and Omnitrans is monitoring as I'm going from city to city, as the pattern of conduct shows, and arriving at the at the Fontana Metrolink train station. The entity, and pay attention to this is getting to all of what is clear and precise targeting. The fake sun, as I take Omnitrans into the city of Pomona, keeps a fake sun in Pomona. That's how I'm documenting what's happening at 9:35 in the morning, while commercial planes are hovering over me in Pomona, California, just like commercial planes hovering over me in Montclair, California. This is just like commercial planes hovering over me in Fontana, California. But the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and there's no sun that's in Pomona, contrary to what I'm documenting when I go to Pomona and I get off the bus, because the entity had the fake sun stop at the intersection of Ramona and Holt and then proceed in the opposite direction along the same street over this bus, 1308, license 1656555, with an African-American female operating the coach. The entity is engaging what is, in other words, limiting the sun to what is Ontario to Montclair. And there is no sun that will be in Pomona. But that's directly contradicting, and that's proven, and that's conclusive because I'm in Fontana and the fake sun's over me now. But again, the documentation, that's why I put my documentation in playlist forms on social media. You see how it's organized, because you'll see how the environment is engaged in a totally different operation based on where it is that I'm going. So no sun goes to Pomona, California, because I don't go on in the route that I'm going and remaining in Pomona. And that's how I'm getting the Pomona Police Department. That's how I'm getting the impossible light activity that's aboard Omnitrans. While this African-American female is operating the coach, the same impossible light activity across the Pomona Police Department, where they share the same condition and the same criminal pattern of conduct. All right, it's currently 8:36 a.m. and I just want to document that. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct with the people of the state. The people of the state that you see engaging in what is gang violence with the mentally ill that are dressing up as police officers. This is how the surveillance system is operating throughout the states. So this is shown to be the corrupt executive branch. The police are engaging in what is criminal activity. And the Constitution is exploited by this entity and creating what is an illusion regarding privacy rights and the enforcement of those rights and protection. In other words, also the government that's wronged you is even supposed to protect you and help you to enforce your rights against it. This is exactly the opposite what the entity is doing. Criminal summoning, as I'm documenting, and you're keeping that evidence against you under surveillance, and you engage in ongoing acts of terrorism to further harm me while I am enforcing my rights against you, who are who is the entity that's on the wrong side of the law, okay? That's the entity that's engaged in, and that's the reality versus the illusion that's presented to us in the U.S., okay? And that illusion is coexisting with the simultaneous view of what you're seeing on court TV. You see people in real court cases. They're as real as what you can fathom. They're real. Those are real people, real court hearings, real judges, real evidence and prosecutions and real sentencing, and people are really getting locked away. It's creating an illusion. An illusion regarding, first of all, a search of facts. The search of what actually happened, getting through a controversy that nobody knows or that you actually have to prove. Okay, so this isn't that it's not known what happened regarding actual surveillance, both the criminal and the alleged criminal, okay, because you're innocent until proven guilty with this constitutional system. But you have what is that search for facts, proving what happened, okay, and proving it beyond a reasonable doubt in the criminal court justice system. So you have what is actually, in reality, everybody knows. Nobody's talking about this, but it's known who committed the crime, who committed it, all those details. But with regard to this system, it's something that has to be proven in a court of law. And it's something that is used to even abuse that system and people that have not committed any crime whatsoever. And when they even engineer information, and in this electronic age where the entity is making up information, this is what the entity has done to me. They had those that are in the medical field, those that are in law enforcement, make up information about me being a criminal, about me committing X, Y, and Z, about me being guilty of, and having the people of the state bear false witness, about very subjective things in the first place. So you're talking about what is not a science regarding mental illness, but even claiming, oh, they witnessed me break into a car, and then I broke into someone's home, and then I killed those people, and I'm some violent criminal, and at the same time I'm maintaining this body of evidence. It's totally irreconcilable. But with regard to this corrupt system, this is something that's exactly what the entity would have proceeded with. That's exactly what they would have done. And they would have provided whatever information to make it as believable as possible. This is contrasted with what you are actually seeing. The reality is that the entity's engaged in surveillance, and there is no search for what happened. There's no investigation. The criminals themselves are wearing police uniforms. It's their job, first of all, to maintain this beast system, which is surveillance, unbeknownst to those. And the people of the state that are the demons engaged in it do not dare speak of it either. And they're engaging in what is even attacking one that seeks to threaten the existence of that system by exposing it. And that's also what I represent. But the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and when you're looking at an illusion that's existing amongst what you see courts. So I'm just speaking to those that would think, because that's exactly what I would be thinking. Well, if it's an illusion, and it's not because you don't believe me, it's that I'm trying to help you understand, because that's where my mind would go. Okay, because definitely the P.O.C. is answering these questions for you, but what about when they're sitting in court and they're prosecuting somebody that committed egregious crimes, like breaking into the college dorms and killing all those poor college students? And they have all the evidence that this isn't a search for truth. They know who's doing what. They know when you're doing it, and there are even demons that are monitoring, and they're sitting up engaging in surveillance while these things occur. That's how demonic, that's how sick, and that's how criminal those that are wearing police uniforms are. And you're talking about what is spiritual. You're talking about those that are engaging in acts of terrorism. And this is that which the demon-possessed that are doing so. The government is fully engaged in practicing demonic things such as witchcraft, which, by the way, witchcraft is not just hocus pocus and smoke going in the air, whatever it is that you're thinking. You're talking about witchcraft is as simple as putting out propaganda that's going to incite fear in your spirit and in your mind. That's a spirit. And it affects the way that you operate, affects what you think, and it's also very much tailored to you in the city where you're at, on the devices that you're using, the circumstances in your life, affecting the trajectory of what it is while the entity is keeping you under surveillance and monitoring you spiritually, knowing what you're thinking while you look at that broadcast on TV, while you look at it on your device, because most of us are using phones and computers to look at the news. But it doesn't matter. You're under surveillance under all circumstances. So this is what the entity is engaging in, and that is a form of witchcraft as well. Fear is of the spirit, and it's not a... This is P.O.C. Munsey, Daniel Munsey, 1459500, Daniel Munsey, Chief of Criminal Monitoring, 9 Thomas Nancy Wendy 251. This is all stalking in the path with light. Fontana police are stalking by helicopter at the same intersection as I'm documenting in the evening. She's monitoring. It's criminal facilitation with no license plate bearing on her vehicle. This is, again, strategic. She's under the fake sun with San Bernardino County. Yeah, no license plate covering it up. That's not accidental. Okay, that's a demon, that's gang stalking, and that's, again, Munsey, Daniel Munsey. License 9 David Nancy Zebra 626, sitting in the car, stalking in the path. This is the entity that's doing so. You'll pay attention to my documentation every time I walk past me floor. They're gang stalking, and they're gang stalking now. That's criminal summoning. License 9 David Mary Sam 923. Me floor right here. Me Flor Mayor, they're gang stalking. So are all of the rest of them, but Me Flor Mayor, you'll pay attention to my documentation because I give them special attention. I target them with the evidence of the P.O.C. as they are targeting me as I walk past this venue, and so is everybody's license plate right here. That's why that African-American female is there under the fake sun while the entity is engaged in what is demonic, psychotic conduct. Those are demons that are monitoring, engaging in surveillance, literally breaking that down. Mentally ill behavior of being a stalker using a fire truck to do so. License 8FWN422, 51155K4. Everybody inside of Me Flor Mayor, it's not a coffee company. They're engaged in surveillance, they're vagina monitors, they're stalking by virtue of presence of that venue. They're engaged in psychopathic pacing, walking in and out under the fake sun, and use of the communication devices with San Bernardino County Fire. License 9 UGB 510. This is P.O.C. You'll see the fake sun. I have it right here over the top of the building while I walk by, and they're stalking right now during the 9 o'clock hour. And this is the special attention, the targeting that Me Flor Mayor, but businesses that are not going to make it through a civil and criminal prosecution. All right, and it's impunity while a vagina monitor comes right out and gang stalks you in your face. 74811Z3, and you're going to prosecute businesses like this. 8560 Sierra Avenue. All right, that's the pattern of conduct, and that's the pattern of the entity engaging in that. Fontana police, they're also gang stalking at this intersection like I documented on video at that Fontana Lewis Library in that very parking lot while the fake sun's over me at this intersection. All right, and that was 5:49 p.m. that video started as I walk out, and this fake sun is still over here over the Fontana Lewis Library, and Me Flor Mayor is a gang stalking company. Just like Starbucks, they're not interested in coffee. They're engaged in surveillance and monitoring your genitalia, and they're mentally ill. This is all pacing. This is Fontana, California. I'm going to prosecute these ghetto companies that are engaged in criminal activity. License 8UQE082. All right, so they just graduated from a picture to video evidence to prosecute them. 9GCY064. And they are very much engaged in surveillance via serving coffee, stalking as an establishment with the City of Ontario that's targeting me by the San Bernardino County Fire Department. And doing so while I am the focus in Fontana, California. And that is also what's going into the bathroom to keep my vagina under surveillance. It's very pathetic. They're not engaged in serving coffee. They're engaged in stalking. License 9T Frank Zebra 810. This is P.O.C. City of Fontana is engaged in criminal surveillance. Okay, this white male is stalking. Right. The reason why you know that he's stalking, how you know, is because this fake sun is remaining over me, as opposed to anybody else. And it's remaining over me. This is speaking to, not only is this a stalker, not only is this prosecuting Aquanetta Warren, but this is a demon, moreover. And using the resources of the city to do so, that's an unlawful threat to my life. And they're engaged in vagina monitoring all day long while I'm in Fontana. 1492682, vehicle 1784. The fake sun is over me right here, which is also how you know that he's stalking, at 5:49 p.m. while I'm standing right here at this sidewalk. And the Fontana Police Department provided an ongoing commercial regarding demon possession and those that are engaging in surveillance throughout the cities in the United States. What that looks like, how it operates, what it behaves as. And it behaves as what is light activity under a fake sun, like the demons of the San Bernardino County Fire Department that just committed criminal summoning. This is the entity that's engaged in an identical pattern of conduct. They're doing so while they are surrounding me with light activity. Okay, they're doing so as demons while the entity surrounds me with helicopter activity under a fake sun. They're all demons. The fire department full of demons, the police department full of demons, the mayor's office, the city council full of demons, the population full of demons. And on this same street at 5:49 p.m., this is what the entity is doing. The city of Fontana is engaged in criminal surveillance in furtherance of murder on behalf of the U.S. government, which is why I'm able to capture a supernatural pattern of conduct from place to place to place. And it is exposing public corruption because the government is engaging in criminal surveillance in furtherance of murder with the people of the state, not engaging in any legitimate conduct. This is construction on the surface, service of the municipality on the surface, federal group stalking and monitoring in substance, light activity, which is demonic. The mentally ill conduct of those that are engaged in that P.O.C. All the demons focus their vision on the sign, concentrating and putting a screw in the sign on the light pole. That's what they're focused on. No, they're focused on me. They're stalking. And the mentally ill are going to be put in mental institutions. They're going to prison. They're definitely going to be removed from office, like Miss Aquanetta or Bonquisha, whatever she prefers. Aquanetta Warren is what I believe she identifies as. This is a demon that is a terrorist leader. Funding terrorism is what this is prosecuted as. Funding terrorism. And there's sex offenders keeping my vagina under surveillance as well. Surrounding the library and going into the library, monitoring with the people who just engage in surveillance inside of the library, under the fake sun, with the gang members who commit murder and kidnapping. Okay, Michael Dorsey, that's engaged in, gets a kick out of, is a psychopath, is a violent sex offender, is a domestic terrorist, stalking an American citizen as a demon-possessed person, as a criminal, hiding that, cloaking that in a police uniform, as an agency, sharing a pattern of conduct, stalking me by helicopter. All right, this is P.O.C. It is 9:16 a.m., whereas I'm on this same Lerner. This is Lerner and Sierra, and I'm at Lerner at the entrance of the library, where the Fontana police are just having a field of showing their mental illness to you. That's what they're showing to you, and their corruption. This is the entity surrounding with light activity, what San Bernardino County Fire is doing, what City of Fontana is doing, what that white male in that utility vehicle is doing. He's doing so pursuant to what is obsessive stalking, which is what's going on the roads and the highways. And no mayor is staying in office. This is funding terrorism. Terrorism in furtherance of murder. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:16 a.m. All right, this is documentation regarding the gang members and the gang leader, the thugs of the Fontana Police Department. So this is a big picture, so you can see where I am at. This is in the city of Fontana. The fake sun is over me at the Fontana Library, which is where I'm at now. And the Fontana Police Department is steps away. You're talking about the street, the turn circle. This is the turn circle, and this is the gang members right there, the headquarters. And you're looking at the pattern of conduct where the gang members are under the fake sun. This is what I have at the Pomona Police Department. This is what I have at the Ontario Police Department. This is what I have regarding the documentation of the Upland Police Department. This is evidence that is corroborated regarding maintaining the evidence of the Ovid Family Community Library, and I'm referring to evidence that is that I'm incapable of accessing because of Google, and that's the basis of prosecuting, and that's going to be dealt with. But the fake son is over me regarding the Upland Police Department that have engaged in kidnapping. They're monitoring with Fontana PD right now. Larry David Jerry 373. That's the white and blue license plate. That's not a state license plate. The entity is engaging in what is keeping the fake son over the gang members themselves. And bigger picture, this is where the entity is stalking the Fontana Police Department with the people of the state. Psychopaths that are stalking with methods of flashing light. It's an indication regarding mental illness and the corruption of the criminal conduct, but mental illness, stalking with light, and they're going to be committed, a population that are engaging in what are psychopathic patterns while they're engaging in what is stalking you and monitoring you, okay? And this is Fontana Lewis Library, San Bernardino County, Fontana Police Department, who are at this same library at 5:49 p.m. on video, stalking me by helicopter, also exhibiting severe mental instability, flying, pacing around me while this fake son is still over me at this same venue. And the Fontana Police Department are steps away, and the Fontana Police, Michael Dorsey, is responsible for the mentally ill that are stalking me with him and on his behalf. This fake son is moving as I move, which is how you know that that light activity, that person operating that vehicle is engaging in corrupt conduct with San Bernardino County that's engaged in criminal conduct. License plate 19685 Paul 1. That's Blue Space Interiors that's engaged in surveillance in the U.S. That's what you need to know about the companies. And they're also a sex offender molesting me with that which is not light that's going to reflect off of their car. This isn't even the sun. The entity kept the fake sun while psychopaths were stalking in commercial planes while I'm at the Stater Brothers at the Ontario Village Shopping Center. Gang stalking me by Amazon Prime. Commercial planes over my head at the St. George Catholic Church. Gang stalking me while I'm at and maintaining the fake sun while I'm sitting in Ontario, and I'm referring to the city of Fontana while you're looking at the entity prosecuting itself. Okay, this is criminal activity that Michael Dorsey is directly engaged to, inextricably linked to. Okay, inevitable, impossible, and entirely unreasonable to state that you don't know anything about it, you're not engaged in it. We're beyond that, but this is just letting you know how clear and precise the targeting and the targeting system is. Fontana police are gang members. This is the fake son over that police department. And they're engaging in surveillance with the police in the parking lot. There are a bunch of stalkers keeping me. I'm the person, I'm the threat, that they're all engaged in surveillance. And these are, by the way, this ongoing inferiority is because they're all demons. They're all scared of me because of what it is that I'm exposing about them and what they are. And they're all criminals. That's what they are. But they're demon-possessed ones. And this is the fake son over me, which would not be the case while I'm still at this library at 5:49 p.m. Michael Dorsey is engaged in what is psychologically torturing me. Michael Dorsey is engaged in what is keeping my vagina under surveillance. Michael Dorsey is criminally facilitating terrorism and psychopathic behaviors, stalking me as a population by the fire department, by the population who are the demon-possessed, the mentally ill are stalking me, and they're engaged in what is criminally monitoring me. And they're doing so in concert with the stalkers that are pulling out helicopters. That's how important I am. That's how much Michael Dorsey hates me and wants to commit what is murder while stalking me using a helicopter. He will not be remaining in the position that he holds. And this is not a police department. That's why they're engaging in that pattern of conduct. And it is proven by the specific environment where all these license plates are all state actors. The entity is targeting me at the Fontana Lewis Library by flying over the top of my head by commercial planes. There's not even an airport in the city of Fontana, nor does any airport account for or reconcile while I'm being targeted under the fake sun at the Fontana Lewis Library, where this demon, San Bernardino County, Daniel MUNSEY, is responsible, while the demons with that county are targeting me while planes are flying over my head here. This is a psychopath. This is a vagina monitor. This is what they're doing while my legs are spread apart, my vagina is exposed, and they're monitoring me. He's a sex offender. In a fire truck. They're being removed. Take a good look. That's San Bernardino County. P.O.C. Just like Ontario Fire last night, they're demons. They are demons. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and they're engaging in targeting. And what the demon-possessed that are intellectually inferior, okay, they're not just intellectually inferior, that is speaking to your mental illness, which is now backfiring on you, okay, because you are engaging in conduct which you're being prosecuted for. Prosecuting regarding your obsession with my vagina, your incessant violation of my privacy, your obsessive stalking, your inherent corruption, and the malicious guise under which you engage in that. This is not a police department. This is criminal surveillance, which Aquanetta Warren is hand in hand in concert with it. You're talking about the helicopter activity? This is the Civic Center right here. Okay? Miss Aquanetta is fully engaged in that P.O.C, which is exactly what's going to be the case under the law when you're prosecuting domestic terrorism. The mayor is engaging in what is targeting with the police chief and that police department, where they are funding and facilitating terrorism against the gang stalking municipality workers, stalking with light, just like blue spaces. Just want to be clear how the law is going to operate. That's stalking with the police, and that's federal prison. All right, you're stalking with the murderers themselves, all those demons, all those license plates. They follow me to the Fontana Metrolink train station on video while I'm documenting their license plates, and I'll document their license plates now. And Michael Dorsey resorted to stalking me by more helicopter activity as I was capturing it while he's keeping my device with no warrant, no probable cause under surveillance. And this is the ongoing scientific evidence that's going to support, and you're witnessing his conviction because it's already a matter of what is a federal prosecution. This is the Fontana police that are a bunch of gang members, they're thugs. They're a bunch of demons. And this is the beast system that the city of Fontana is fully engaged in. These are demons that are pacing. The one in the parking lot behind the gate and this one, blue space, those are pacing. They're in sync. They're not separate. This is the fake sun. This is mentally ill conduct. The spirit of Satan is operating amongst over the whole population. All they're doing is pacing all around me. That's why the fake sun is still here, as you see on video at 5:49 p.m. on the opposite side of this water fountain. And the entity is flying in circles around me, the mentally ill using helicopters to pace over me. Okay, Michael Dorsey is going to be subject to, even involuntarily, medical examinations regarding his maniacal rage toward being exposed as a demon and a stalker. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:46 a.m.
It is 10:27 a.m. and what I'm documenting outside is relevant to the exact same pattern of conduct inside. It's just that the fake sun is not inside of the building. The fake sun remains over the building, around all sides of the building, whatever side that I'm on. And the entity is reaching in and stalking with impossible light activity on the inside of the building, where stalking by demons who are monitoring remains underway. And so while I am capturing my surroundings, these are the same demons that are stalking. The Fontana Police Department that's stalking is pointing directly at nothing other than stalkers on the inside of that building. And this is how, again, clear and precise the targeting system has already been exposed. So in other words, inside of the Fontana Lewis Library are the mentally ill. They are as roaches, and they are pacing on the inside of the library through the book stacks based on where I'm positioned. And they are maintaining ongoing psychopathic level of hovering monitoring, which is stalking. Stalking pursuant to crossing my path. In the engineer light that I show you is on the wall, that I show you is stretching into the building, the entity that's stalking by helicopter last night, and the Caucasian male that wanted to be so close to me after monitoring genitalia in the bathroom. That's exactly what's demonstrated in the morning under the same fake sun with the same police department that is monitoring vicariously all day long, okay? The entity's engaged in what is stalking in a library. It is as psychopathic, as psychotic as stalking in a fire truck. The entity's engaged in what is group conduct. So the demons are pacing, okay, in the book stacks, crossing path together as a group of them. They're crossing path with regard to knowledge about my movement, knowledge about turning on a device, knowledge about going to a website, knowledge about downloading a file, knowledge about publishing a video, knowledge about uploading images. They are all demons that are monitoring on your devices as I'm breaking down the pattern of conduct. And we're a bunch of demon-possessed people that are mentally ill. In other words, mentally ill people are stalking by sitting next to me, stalking by walking by me, stalking by entering into the library, including as you are employed. And again, what is the legal theory behind that? It is in fact science. That's not the sun that's over me at this venue where I begin coming to the Fontana Lewis Library, and there's an outright departure from the sun remaining over the Ovid Family Community Library, over the Omnitrans bus route that I'm on, over the Woodside Senior Apartments in Apartment 51 where the entity maintained that fake sun. That is how you know the employees in that venue outside of what an American citizen would claim without knowledge of the environment, without the ability to maintain an investigation and show that nexus between what's happening outside of a building, what's happening inside of a building, what's happening amongst the police and what's happening amongst the population. That's how you know, and that's under the law, the prosecution of those that are systematically facilitating people like Stephanie Ortiz. Okay? They're engaging in what is pacing also with regard to genitalia, privacy violation, monitoring everything, not just your device, but your genitalia. And they're engaging in that level of psychotic things. Those that engage in systematic, repeated stalking, they're referred to as serial stalkers, those demons are going to prison, and that's what I'm documenting. The entities engaging in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while in the face of the federal government. You're going to threaten the federal government. What foreign terrorist has ever been successful in that? How far did that go? Okay, what serious and successful threat is a foreign terrorist going to make against the U.S. government? Okay, so this is the U.S. government being treated under the law in the same manner that any other foreign terrorist is treated. Okay, and by the way, under the our founding documents, things like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, there's no distinction with regard to an enemy being identified as domestic or foreign. This is the entity that is impliedly communicating that threat. Not only are you engaged in monitoring, you're monitoring, in other words, also the evidence that you are stalking an American citizen who has every right under the law to enforce that right, to not be stalked, not be gang stalked, not have their genitalia under surveillance. And while you engage in things like criminal summoning, that doesn't change the facts. In fact, that's the criminal conduct that's going to have those sex offenders committed, okay, and put in prison in the mentally ill area of that prison. Mental illness is not funny, but I'm just speaking to the fact of the entity is not controlling the facts. Because you engage in violence, seeking to obstruct justice, does that make the fake sun disappear? Does that make that light that's flying across the roof of the bus, is that totally irrelevant all of a sudden? Does that mean that you're some sort of exception to that? The answer is no. Okay, so the entity is engaging in a body of evidence regarding obstruction of justice. It does not remove the Fontana police that are stalking over the Fontana Lewis Library. Upon my arrival, walking into the library, I'm already subject to an unlawful threat. They're already threatening me. And then they're engaging with a psychopathic pacing on the inside of the library. And then you're engaging with a stalking me in my face. That's all the entity is doing. You're going to break down what they are literally doing as I have brought you from what is the illusion into the reality, and then you're going to prosecute based on facts. People that do these things, they're crazy under any other circumstances. And that's exactly how the entity, the demon-possessed entity, is going to be treated under the law, because that's exactly what they are. Hiding behind witchcraft, which makes a thing look like something else. The P.O.C. is removing that illusion. And those that engage in stalking, and you want to engage in stalking over and over and over again, when you're monitoring the evidence, you know that you've been documented. So when you engage in threatening the government makes a decisive response, okay? There's decisive action taken. Okay, and no police department has any authority under federal law to engage in terrorism through you or directly, like they have been documented already at the venue where you're communicating an unlawful threat. An unlawful threat, okay? So this is what the entity is doing based on where I'm positioning, and these are demons. They're a bunch of roaches. They're minions. Running up and down in the aisles. They're stalking. It is pathetic. It's laughable. It's very serious. It's psychologically torturous. It's sexually violent. And it's incredibly criminal, okay? This is public corruption. This is the beast system, and these people are all dead. All right, so these are all mummies stalking on behalf of the government. And the mummies are going to be put away. That's what you're going to get down to the root of the problem. You want to go to prison? That's exactly where you're going. You want to go to a mental institution? That's exactly where you're going. Whether you don't want to go or not, that's exactly where you're going to go based on your criminal activity. You behave like somebody that's mentally deranged, that needs that assistance. You need a battery test. You need a diagnosis. You need medication, because that's what you're going to get in that institution, in that facility. This is the entity that's engaging in that. And so this is the Fontana Lewis Library that's already prosecuted. The Fontana police are targeting me. They're all demons doing so under the fake sun. They're all monitoring the evidence, which is relevant to criminal acts of retaliation, engaging in terrorism together. like a terrorist, is going to be that's going to be assessed under the federal law. This is an unlawful threat by enemies of the country. This is terrorism. All right, and this is what they're doing to American citizens. It is currently 10:35 a.m. and this is relevant to what I am documenting on the inside of the venue. And this is the gang stalking that, again, this is logical. This is obvious. There's no pause between what I'm documenting outside. All I did was walk into a building. So the question is, okay, well, the pattern of conduct is underway. It's a matter of how, not if. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct, and the entity is keeping the fake sun over me while a bunch of stalkers are coming into the library, engaging in what is surveillance, not reading. They are not hooked on phonics. All right, they are engaged in what is, and they need to be. They need to be, because you should be paying attention to what's going to happen to you. And it's going to be embarrassing and also very severe. All right, it is currently 10:36 a.m. and this is P.O.C. Alrighty, it's currently, by the way, let me see, 11:57 a.m. This is in reference to the surveillance tactics by the mentally ill who are violent sex offenders and who are engaged in stalking, which is on behalf of the very entity that commits kidnapping, as they seek to not only take your life, defame your character while the police are stalking you and they commit any kidnapping. It's under the guise of you being arrested because you committed some crime, you violated the law in one way or another. While the entity is stalking you, that's the entity on whose behalf the people of the state are stalking. All right, so the entity is maintaining a surveillance tactic as I am subject to vagina monitoring. The entity is engaged in what are swapping out stalkers or maintaining a stalker in the path as I return from the restroom. This is exactly what I documented in the impossible light activity while I'm seated at the computer inside of the Fontana Library during the 5 p.m. hour. And this Caucasian male, he wants to sit right next to me. This is why I'm getting very damning evidence of the impossible light. This is the same computer lab. This is conspicuous stalking pursuant to what is also vagina monitoring, and the demon is in position as I return from the bathroom. This is the sexual violence of Michael Dorsey. Okay, so you have the serial stalker that's present, and they're engaged in surveillance, father and son, monitoring vagina, tracking my steps, crossing path, coming upstairs, another demon crossing path in the hallways while they are stalking inside of the library. The employees are engaging in that facilitating system just by virtue of being on the clock at work, stalking in the book stacks by virtue of being working in a library, and that's the guys whereby they are stalking in the path, monitoring you. And this is the entity that's doing so on behalf of the Fontana police, the sex offenders that use helicopter activity when they are particularly triggered by my evidence showing that they're demons and that they are stalking through a bunch of sex offenders that are inside of the library. I just want to document this particular tactic. This is exactly what I documented at Ovid Family Community Library. It's the P.O.C. It's not specific to libraries, but this is the venues where I'm documenting the government that's engaged in this pattern of conduct, because it's the city of Fontana, it's the city of Ontario, and they're engaged in the perpetual sex offense, letting you know that you're under surveillance and your genitalia is under surveillance, and that's also relevant to your children, and that's just by demons. And it's all state action. But at the Ovid Family Community Library, as I would sit typically at computer number 1 or whatever computer, but typically at number 1, I get up, I go to the bathroom, they're monitoring, documented that. As I come back and there's perhaps, for example, nobody sitting at the surrounding computers, 2, 3, or 4, as I return from the bathroom, a stalker would be positioned at the computers. This is an ongoing, routinely documented pattern. They're present for purposes of making sure someone is there in the path. They're doing so while they are monitoring your vagina. Everything that happened in the bathroom is also under surveillance, and that is Satan that is there stalking where you are going to return. This is what Ovid Family Community Library is doing. It's the same demon-possessed entity that's doing so merely in Fontana, and doing so in that environment. So this is a large African-American male that's gang stalking at the computer sitting right next to me, just like the Caucasian male sitting right next to me. This is Satan. These are demon-possessed. Under the law, they're the people of the state. They are engaged in federal group stalking monitoring, which is a satanic and inhumane means of surveillance, not only on communication devices that you're under surveillance, but they're surveilling your body, monitoring you. All right, and they are tracking your steps, stalking you into the bathroom, stalking you inside of the bathroom, stalking you on your way out of the bathroom, stalking inside of the building. And I want to make sure I documented that. I captured it on video. And in that video that I captured, engineer light was on the wall, onto the ceiling, where AGS are engaging what are using their communication devices, pacing in and out of this area where I'm at, monitoring, while the entity is maintaining surveillance by sitting at the computers. All right, and the engineered light, the light that's flying across the wall, the light that's swimming across, planted on the wall and moving across the ceiling, very demonic. And these are demons that are engaged in surveillance in that, and they do so while they're engaged in vagina monitoring, and a stalker is there as I return. And that is also relevant to what is psychological torture. Okay, the entity is going to be prosecuted for that. Psychological torture is that which precedes murder. Is that which the entity is doing while in furtherance of seeking to criminally defame you. And this is the entity's failure of that system. Psychological torture is showing how mentally ill the entity is. But typically the practical working out of this system is the entity psychologically tortures you in order to make plain as they are torturing someone, triggering someone, and then they sit back and make false allegations. They put you, for example, record you being quote unquote mentally ill in one way or another, acting out when they're engaged in what is targeting you and stalking you and doing so. Okay, the entities engaged in stalking me, and they're engaged in stalking while they're maintaining ongoing sexual means of surveillance, stalking, monitoring my devices, stalking inside of a building, which is absurdly psychotic, and the entities engaged in that with which is inherently psychologically harmful. Stalking in helicopters is psychologically harmful. Stalking in planes is psychologically harmful. Stalking while you're looking to the left and the right like nobody knows that you're stalking is psychologically harmful, and the entity is going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted for that. This is what the people of the state of Fontana, California are engaging in, and it's already documented. This is the entity, meaning when I am being gang stalked in Ontario, it's already prosecuting Fontana. This is the documentation which is showing that there is no exception, there's no change, there's no deviation, there's no anomaly, there is no exception. And this is the entity of sex offenders that are keeping a woman's vagina under surveillance on behalf of Michael Dorsey. Michael Dorsey, who is a maniacal psychopath stalking me with helicopters and maintaining a bunch of sex offenders, predators that are stalking inside of a building because they're demons like him, and they're demons that are engaging in monitoring like him, in furtherance of murder like him, in concert with him, while they're also doing so as they are watching their ongoing real-time exposure, which does not stop their ongoing group lust after my vagina, obsessing over my privacy, and stalking me obsessively everywhere that I go, including in the bathroom. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 12:03 p.m., where the entity is maintaining ongoing foot traffic pacing while demons sit next to me at the computer area. All right, this is the pattern of chronic San Bernardino County is being prosecuted. It's P.O.C.
License plate 9FMP007. That's a psychopath and a violent sex offender that's lurking in the dark. You'll see my pictures. They're sitting in a vacant parking lot. Citibank is closed. They're not even trying to stalk by being in surveillance in the driveway because they have to face me. And they're stalking with the demon that's standing at the bank. They are stalking with the bank that's going to be prosecuted. They're stalking with the demon that's at the teller. These are all forms of stalking me. And they're doing so while a demon is stalking with light. That's a psychopath. That's somebody that eats their feces. That's somebody that sits around, masturbates, fantasizing about murdering people, stalking a woman in the middle of the night as a population. This is Fontana, California. This is what you're dealing with regard to the demon possessed that are gang stalking. License 38317E3 is fully engaged in all of that. And it's not ceasing because that demon drove off. This is what they're doing, stalking under a fake sun. That's an unlawful threat. And that's what was sitting inside of the library all day long, by the way. While you see the impossible light on the wall above the computer, that's stalking with light. While you see the fake sign over the library, like I documented at 9:20 in the morning, and again during the 4 p.m. hour, that's stalking with light. While the entity has engineered light on the inside of the library, flying about all over the desk, the stuff that they forget about, after I capture you flying and stalking by helicopter, you just want to act like, oh, well. No, nobody forgot about the whole totality of facts. They're stalking with light, they're psychopaths. Psychopaths are unfit to be in law enforcement. They're unfit to be in the medical field. They're unfit to be around children. They're unfit to be around the elderly. People, in other words, that can't protect themselves, that may or may not be able to speak for themselves and talk about the type of psycho murderer that is psychologically torturing them, harming them, lying on them, abusing them in one way or another. This is what is gang stalking. It's the demon possessed. And the name that you need to remember is Michael Dorsey. Michael Dorsey, don't you forget it. Because you're all going to witness him being prosecuted. He's being prosecuted right now. It is currently 8:35 p.m.
This is Fontana police that's stalking me by helicopter and stalking on the roads and the highways. Look, you see that leisurely taking a sip of their drink, like nothing to fear, nothing's going to happen. This is exactly what's going to be played in federal court regarding psychopaths that are engaged in professional stalking. All right, this is the P.O.C. Michael Dorsey is communicating a threat right now, and it is heard very loudly and clearly by the federal government. This department is being federally prosecuted. They're terrorists and they're stalkers. The entity's engaged in this while keeping the fake moon over me, which you saw. These are maniacal psychopaths. Stalking under a fake sun over here, over this Carl's Jr., and there's the fake moon. Taking a sip of their coffee while they're stalking, knowing that they're being documented, and they think because they play it cool and look to the left, that there's no consequences. That's exactly what's getting gang stalking police officers committed, because that's what's happening regarding terrorists. They're equally mentally ill. It's even worse because the mentally ill are carrying guns and wearing badges, stalking under items in the sky like a fake sun and a fake moon, and looking to the left and the right like there's nothing to see here. And the federal government's going to make an example out of them. Fontana police are a bunch of vagina monitors. They're demons. In other words, they're cockroaches. They are unfit. Okay, they are not the finest. They are the crustiest, dustiest, most treacherous demons stalking an American citizen in a helicopter, and I have it all on video. I'm prosecuting them. And I'm that important that they're spending gas money on stalking me. This is Sierra Avenue and Merrill Avenue. And you already know that this is the P.O.C. Fake sun over this in the morning, in the evening at 5, where the department is being prosecuted because they're stalking me at 5 o'clock in the evening at this same venue under the fake sun. And I'm crossing this venue in the morning while all these demons are stalking with light. And they're doing that because they lost. But what they're going to learn is, as a terrorist, you're not going to commit more acts of terrorism and stalk someone and psychologically torture them. And because Michael Dorsey's engaged in that pattern of conduct, they are going to reap what are the federal repercussions for that. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 9:19 p.m. The entity is stalking on the roads and the highways. All right, they are a liability. They're a threat to the public, and they're being removed from those positions. P.O.C. San Bernardino County. Stalking under the fake moon. License 1604942. These are the demons that are very much not cool and calm and collected, sipping on their coffee like nothing is fazing them. They're stalking me because they're very, very fearful, okay? Demons that are psychopathic and maniacal, that engage in serial killings when they're fearful in order to get away with corrupt acts like being a stalker and a murderer and a kidnapper as a police officer or as a county sheriff, they engage in what is more criminal activity. And they are, when caught, commit more and more stupid acts, which I document. The mentally ill are demon-possessed, and they are accustomed to getting away. They're not getting away with anything. Thus, the ongoing gang stalking by the government. San Bernardino County is a demonic agency that's engaged in specifically stalking me. They're not coincidentally driving on this corner. There are no coincidences under the supernatural environment, such as a fake sun and a fake moon. This is the entity that's engaged in what is repeatedly kidnapping upon literally making up information. They're kidnapping with the heavily documented stalkers and demons of Ontario police. Oh, they got wind of everything that I'm putting on the internet, and they're stalking with the terrorists who are going to prison and mental institutions with them, the people of the state. Stalking with light, they're demons. And they are not cool and calm and collected when I point a camera at them and they're stalking me. That's the behavior of delusional psychopaths who typically get away with killing people in dark alleys and then claiming that somebody's missing and that department's investigating it. That's not going on here. Okay, this is P.O.C. Psychopathic pacing. Psychopathic 1605117 documented this pattern over and over and over again. They're demons. Okay, that's the handiwork of Shannon Dykes, who's gang stalking with Michael Dorsey, the Fontana Police Department, and also with every other gang member. All right, every other gang-affiliated agency, the demons of the Upland Police Department, the demons of the San Bernardino Police Department, the demons of the Pomona Police Department that don't even have jurisdiction in San Bernardino County, but they go to West Valley because San Bernardino County are a bunch of vagina monitors that are obsessed with me. They commit kidnapping so that they can pace around me. That's how obsessed with me they are, and that's why the entity is going to be disbanded. They're going to prison because they can't control their psychopathic impulses. There's no coincidences in the environment. This is surveillance. They're all engaged in surveillance. So what you just witnessed is one San Bernardino County vehicle crossing path and another while they're listening to everything that I'm stating, which the demon-possessed are triggered by. But under the law, it's stalking. What the target individual is experiencing psychologically,
what is expressly and impliedly communicated by stalking as an agency that commits what is sexual violence, that's engaged in what is the practice of witchcraft, that's engaged in an ongoing defamatory campaign in order to steal from you and permanently kidnap you and ultimately take your life, you're going to prison for these things. These are professional stalkers, not police departments. And Shannon Dykes has been engaged in terrorizing me, criminally defaming me, sexually violating me inside of the facilities, and is in Fontana gang stalking me. They get diarrhea. All right, they have bubble guts looking at what I'm putting up on the internet. They're going to prison. You know what's going on up on the internet? The Ontario International Airport being shut down while the pattern of conduct is in Fontana. There's no airport over here. Okay, the entity that's engaged in what is hovering in the sky space is doing so with the government that's pacing all around me because the government's been federally prosecuted. And the government includes the people of the state, these demons that are over here stalking me. And now they're just stalking because they're a bunch of confused, mentally ill fans who sacrificed themselves. And that includes Shannon Dykes in San Bernardino County. They're under the fake sun stalking me. The fake sun is over West Valley Detention Center. Every kidnapping that they engaged in, every single last one, I documented many of them. You're going to prison, just so let you know. You're going to prison while you're outside in Fontana gang stalking. And that's exactly what my documentation about the city of Ontario, the city of Pomona, the city of the city of Fontana engaging in the pattern of conduct, the city of Upland. It means you, Shannon Dykes, these demons of San Bernardino County, I hope you're ready because you're being federally prosecuted. It's already all over the internet. This is P.O.C. That's why they're stalking me in San Bernardino County vehicles. And that's the beast system. They're not engaged in law enforcement. They're stalkers. They're vagina monitors. And they are absolutely overpaid, and that's going to change. They are the reason why the people of the state are a bunch of vagina monitors following me around, including in bathrooms. That is not going to stay in office. It's not staying in office. They're holding hands with the mayor. They're holding hands with the police chiefs. They're holding hands with the fire departments. They're holding hands with the gang stalking airports. All right? That's the system with regard to the local government. All right? And that's at the local and state level. This is the federal prosecution of the U.S. government. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:33 p.m. at what is 8924 Sierra Avenue, where the Carl's Jr. is under the fake moon. Just like I have documentation, you'll look at it side to side because that's the prosecution of that agency, engaging what is terrorism, psychological torture, ongoing threats regarding repeated acts of kidnapping. And you are absolutely engaging in what is a threat to commit kidnapping again for no reason whatsoever while you are stalking me in the middle of the night under a fake moon, being a psychopath, a maniacal psychopath, because you're triggered by what you're sitting up keeping under surveillance on the internet. When you think about me, think about the fact that you're going to prison because you are. P.O.C.